Hi, my name is Terry Lee, and today we're going to talk about using up your scraps. I was asked to make this video by Teresa Lilly from Antique Paper Exclusive Facebook group, and so I'd like for you to check it out. It's one of my favorite groups, and if you're a member of that group or my group, which is Sweet Pea Papers and Friends, and you will get a PDF of this list of 25 ways to use your scraps, plus an additional 6 ways to use dyed paper scraps, and additional 7 ways to use your cardboard pieces. So we're not going to really go over the cardboard or the dyed paper, just one example it looks like of each. And but we are going to go over all 25 ways to use your scraps. So sit down, get a cup of coffee, and get ready. I'm going to show you one thing from my collection of scraps. Now, first of all, let me say that I have a drawer like this that fits in my storage unit. And it sounds like I've rented a storage unit. Maybe I should. Anyway, and I have one with little bitty scraps of stuff. And then I have one with a bigger one that has scraps that don't go with kits. They're like book pages, scraps, and white cardstock scraps and things like that. Then I have a third one with what do I want to say? Die cut scraps. Okay, so now this one I wanted to show you specifically because this drawer is scraps from papers that go to kits, and the reason these are separate is because it is very easy to look through here and find something complementary to your kit that you're using or your project that you're using. There's the one I was looking for. And you can use them in your current project without having to look through all of your scraps of all kinds of papers and these getting mixed in. Now set that on the floor out of the way. So make sure that you use your mistakes too. Let me grab a couple of these. These were miscuts that I thought were the right size, but they weren't. And so it took up a bunch of the paper, but I still have a bunch left. And so be sure to save these. Obviously, this bigger one you probably would. But even ones that are this big like that, you can still use those too, and I'll show you how in a few minutes. Okay, so now here's the list that I came up with, and I'm sure that there are more. And here we go. So this is my list, and I have notes because I have projects that I'm going to show you examples from, and then I also have some loose examples of other things. So that's why I have all these notes on here. So the first thing that I like to do with my scraps is after every project that I do, if I have enough scraps and I don't save them with something else, then I make a collage out of them. So I made this folio, and it's called Deco because the kit was called Art Deco, I believe. And I collaged on the cover here this did not come with it. They're papers from the kit, but it didn't come that way. And then on the inside here, I collaged this as well. Okay, so that's one example. The other example is from the scraps from this project. I made this collage, and if you see, these are offcuts. They're not, there's a round section here. It's not just the picture cut out of the kit. And this is a little banner tag that was left over, and just little pictures and things. And then I tend to make all of my collages with straight lines, and that's because I'm left-brained, I think. So on to the rest of the list. You can make tags and you can make pockets. Here's a pocket that I made that I was going to put on a page actually in a book, and it didn't look right once I glued it in. It just didn't look like I thought it would, and so I actually pulled it off. Look at the back of this. And then I had to glue something over it, of course, because it pulled off some of the paper. But I saved this pocket because I thought, well, I can use it for something else. Now, you can actually make pockets out of your projects. You can use a template of a pocket, or, and I forgot to get some of those out, or you can just make a piece of paper, or take a piece of paper and out of cardstock, and you can trace a pocket. Let's say this was a fancier pocket. Then you can trace it on the cardstock before you use it, and then you have a template of it, and you can use that to make more pockets. Or you can draw a pocket on some cardstock or on the back of your paper like this, and then you're going to want the little tabs on there to fold underneath if you want the little three-dimensional pocket so that you can put more things in it and it isn't a flat pocket. Okay, and you're going to draw another one on this side. And then you can use your scraps to make a pocket yourself, a handmade one out of any scrap that you've got. You can make one of any size. You can make a tag. Now, this is a extra tag that I had, and I'm going to make a template out of it, but I'm going to flip it over. It's for a tag that you fold down, and then it makes a picture on both sides. So as you can see on here, I wrote template on the back, and all you have to do is put this on your paper. Let's say this piece right here. You just put it on your paper. Actually, this piece isn't big enough, but it'll work for an example. On the back, and you trace around it, and then you cut it out, and you've got this tag. You'll be able to fold it over, and you'll have this pattern on both sides. Okay, you can make bookmarks. Let me move this out of the way since I've already used it. You can make a bookmark, and this scrap right here is from the kit that I used when I made this little folio card. It's got a note in it. I put notes in them when they had examples inside. But this paper here, it came from that. And it's not that big of a scrap. And some people might have thrown it away. But I also had this construction paper scrap. And it's cream colored and it has little speckles in it. I don't know if you can see them on the camera. Anyway, they're very pretty. And so I'm going to take this and glue it on here. Sorry about my voice, it's very early in the morning. And now I can either cut around it, and then I'll have this nice speckled colored construction paper on the back, and it can be, you can add some other decoration to it, you can leave it as it is, or if you want the bookmark to be this big, or you could cut it down a little bit, you could glue this on here and just leave the cream colored with the speckle around it. So then you would have a bookmark. Okay, now another thing you can do to make a bookmark, and of course I like collaging, is you can take an offcut, and on the back side of it you can collage on it. And this makes a nice sturdy bookmark because I used Mod Podge, and some people use clear gesso and other things depending on what you want. You can punch out circles, and there's several things you can do. There's more on my list, but I'm not going to go through them all. You can make a tab with a circle, which I thought was up here. Oh, here it is. All right, let's say you have a piece of paper and you're going to make a writing card out of it, and you're going to slide it into something else, but you need a tab to be able to get it out. So you can cut out a circle like that, and then fold it in half and put it on the side. Leave part of it sticking out, glue. When you glue, you're going to have half of it on the back and half of it on the front, and then you've got a tab. Now, I do have an example of that. I forgot. If you look here, there's a circle, and there's a finger pull here, and it's actually a tag or a tab that I made out of extra tickets that I had. And then this is a writing card that I made out of construction paper that I had left over. Okay, so you can do that. You can, you can make tucks out of circles. Now, these circles came with this kit, but it's a good example. I took 3 circles and I only glued half down, and that allowed me the space to take this bookmark that I made out of some tickets, and then I just slid it under there. Okay, I'll take that note out so I know that I used it. You can take a little teeny punch. Now this one's a circle, but you can get little flowers and stars and all different things, and you can punch out the little circles or the little shapes, and you can use them in shaker cards. You can use that, cut them out of your scraps. You can take the leftover paper when you cut out the circles. Let me show you an example. You can cut out a circle and do another one, and do another one. And you can keep doing that all around the border of the paper. Then you can use the circles, right? And then you've got this left over, and then you can put it on white paper or some other paper, and then take your brush and some ink, and then you can use it as a stencil. Okay, so those are some other things you can do with your circles. Okay, the next thing is you can make a belly band. And let me show you what a belly band is. We're going to go back to the card. When you open this up, there's a piece of paper across here. This is a scrap, and it's called a belly band because it's a band. It looks like it goes across the belly of the page. I'm assuming that's why they call them that. And it holds this card in. Okay, now this is a writing card that I actually made from a scrap as well. And it just slides in there like that. Now, I actually sometimes will make a belly band that is out of the exact same paper or the exact same piece of paper, and then you can match up the pattern, and then you can't even see the belly band once you take whatever's underneath it out. Okay? Oh, and I already showed you that you could make a tab out of it, out of your scraps, not just your circles, but your scraps. You can make a writing card. Let's see, what do I have here? Yep, and that I showed you that already. You can make a writing card out of your scrap, and then in my notes it says, hey, add a tab to it. So that's also this example here. I actually got ahead of myself when I was doing the circle tabs. Okay, you can cut out or tear out elements. Okay, so this is an example of a fussy cut, and fussy cut is where you cut around something out of a piece of paper and you cut out the exact outline of it. This flower is not on this paper. I cut this out and I inked it separately, and you can actually stick something underneath it, underneath this fussy cut, and it works as a tuck as well. Okay, this is a fussy cut up here, and I left it unglued half the way so that when you open it, it looks kind of 3D. The bird kind of comes out of the page. All right, I think that's all in my owl flip book. I'll set it over here out of the way. And you can also tear them out as well. You don't have to cut it exactly. You can tear it out. In fact, I do have an example of that. This is my book of firsts, so all this stuff in here is not very fancy. It's kind of a fat book. And back when I first started, the first time I ever made something, I put it in this book. So here's an example of tearing. So I just tore around this scrap. This is from a kit. And then, of course, this is a piece of book paper underneath that was a scrap. But I cut it out and made a tuck out of it, or a corner pocket, whichever way you want to look at it. This is torn out of a scrap of a book page, and I made a pocket out of it, and then I stuck it in another pocket. Okay, so that's what this says, make a pocket and tear out pieces. All right. So then you can make small file folders using a template, and I do have a template for that. Oh, here was my envelope template. This is an envelope that you fold this up, you fold these in, and then you fold that down. And when you make it, it's not going to have the dotted lines on it, but where this meets here, that's where you fold it. Okay, so I did have a template for that. All right, now these manila folders, now these are large ones. Some kits will come with ephemera that are little file folders, and I highly, highly suggest that you make templates out of them first before you use it in your project. So you can use the template later on your scraps to make little file folders, or large file folders, as the case may be. You can make teeny weeny book covers. I love making teeny weeny books. Now this little book was made out of scraps from my Alice in Wonderland kit that I bought. And this little book measures 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches, or a little bit less than 3.5 inches. And this was out of a scrap. I cut this square out with the flowers. Then this striped paper behind, that was a scrap. When you open it up, now this was an actual piece of ephemera. This was a tag, and I folded it in half, and all this is a little notebook for you to write your groceries in or whatever. And then I pulled it out. So these are scrap pieces of paper as well. And then inside here is some scrap dyed paper made into a note feature. Okay, and then the back, and that's the scrap paper out of the kit. You can make a ribbon. This is a ribbon, and all I did was take a scrap piece of paper, it's under here, scrap piece of paper, and then you put glue on it, and then you take gauze and you use some spray ink on it. It can be any kind of ink. This happens to be homemade ink that I made. And then when you put the gauze on, then you smooch it up like that, and it makes this pattern, and it makes a ribbon. And then of course I put some glitter on it. Everything looks better with glitter on it. You can make a page border, which is here. And this page border was actually made out of spare tickets that I had from a kit that I didn't use. And I didn't want to get rid of them after I used the kit. You can actually make templates, which is what I was talking about with the envelope pattern and the making file folders out of your scraps. You can make small envelopes. You can make die cuts. Now, this is my drawer of extra stuff from when I made a die cut. Then there's always the other piece. So I used some scraps and I made these little tickets that I can use in another project, another Christmas related project. Okay, we'll pretend like I haven't drawn on that. It's just so you can see them better. And so I made these little tickets, I cut them out, and then I just punched little holes in them. Then I also had this center piece. When I cut out a rectangle, I was using for a picture frame, and now I have this center piece, and it's got the little dotted around it, and I can use it on a card or, you know, something else. The same here. These are center pieces out of when I cut holes for to make a CD cover. And now I can do something with these circles, and they have the little dotted pattern from the blades on there as well. I have these little petals and plants that I cut out with this die cut, and I don't know where it is. It should be in this drawer, but instead of these should be in a different drawer. But I have the negative. And what I mean by that is this is from cutting out some patterns that made an edge. So there's 4 of them because there was 4 edges. But now I can take my ink. Hopefully you can see this. And I can use it as a stencil. And you see it makes the pattern on the page. So you can use your scrap die cuts, and you can use your offcuts as well from your die cuts. And so this is a scrap, and those others would have been scraps as well. And you can make a hang tag. And what a hang tag is pretty much what it sounds like. This hang tag, what it is, it's like a double tag, sort of like that big one I had that folds in half, but I made it out of scraps. This is scrap paper, and then this is the writing side for writing, the inside, and then the front side is a collage. This is paper that I tore out, and then on the back side is some more space and some paper that I tore out. And it actually, when you open it up, you hang it over the page. And it makes a really nice decoration inside your book. Okay. You can use all of these things when you make a gift card. You can use the circles, the pockets, the tear outs, the fussy cuts, the tucks, stencils, tucks and stencils, the die cuts, etc. You can make flags. Now I have a little paper. I know I do. Anyway, I don't see it right away, so I'm not going to show it to you, of what flags look like. Here's some more here's some tags that I cut out of scraps. Okay, so there's another example of that. And I don't see my flags, my pennant. Oh, there they are. All right, these are flags or pennants. They're this shape. Now, these are from a kit, but I wanted to show you the shape, and I didn't have any cut out of scraps right now. So you can make those. You can put them back in the kit where they came from if they're large enough. So here's a kit. and I was making a folio, and I had some pieces that ended up being too big for what I was doing. And so I saved them. They look like a file folder. And I saved them because, and they're duplicates, because I thought it might make a nice front and back to something. These I could make tags out of when I made something else out of this kit. This I can use on a card. I think that would be really pretty. This one, I could fussy cut out the butterflies or this chest. This chest would look nice on a cluster, which I think I skipped over clusters. But those are just small pieces of items that are kind of stacked on or around each other. A lot of times they have lace or gauze underneath them. So say we had these pieces here, and I layered them like this in a book, let's say like that, and then I put some gauze or some lace or something behind it, and you don't even have to do that, but this is a cluster of items, and so it's called a cluster. You can make those out of your scraps. And so keep your offcuts, keep your miscuts, and put them back in with the kit, so you know when you think, oh, there was that one when I made that folder that came out the wrong size, you can go right back to the kit and get it out. And you can use them to cut for CD covers. You could take a scrap, a large one like this, and then you could take your die, your circle die, and CD covers are the same size. I use them to store my die cuts in as well, but they're the same size all the way around. I think they're 5 by 5. So you just put the die cut in the center. You cut a piece 5 by 5 out of your scrap. You put the die in the middle, and you use it to cut out, and then all of a sudden you have a cover for your CD cover with the hole in the center. And that's how I ended up with those offcuts and those circles that I can use in something else. Okay, that's 25 things right there, believe it or not. Now, a couple of things that you can use the scraps with your dyed paper. You can, in this flip book, in the back, I took this out because this is the second time I made this video, but it was in here, and there was a string around it. Anyway, you can use it to make little pads of paper or little groupings of stationery paper, and this is tea-dyed paper, and then I sprayed it a little bit, you can't see it, with my homemade gold alcohol ink, and it makes it kind of glittery. You can make, this is another thing that you can use with extra little tags and things, is you can make custom paper clips. You can make paper pads for yourself out of your extra dyed pages. I keep all of them because I went to the trouble of dyeing them. So you can see I have all these scraps. Some are big enough. If I cut this off, I could use it in a notepad. But scraps that are this size or so, I punch a hole in them, and then I use them to make notes. And when it's full, I just pull it out. When it's all full, written up on both sides, then I just pull it out. When I get low on them, I just make some more, cut out some more, and stick them in here. And then the last thing is one of the bonus items on cardboard, I thought I would show you. And what you do is you take the paper off. See, there's paper on there. You take the paper off and it leaves the ridges. And then you just take your ink pad. Here's a red. You just take your ink pad and you ink it up. And then you can stamp it on a piece of paper. And it makes lines. Now these aren't very clear. I didn't take the time to ink it up really well. But it makes lines on the paper. And you can make lined paper on the back of your writing cards. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. That's 25 and even a couple more that I thought of as I was doing the video. And then 2 things out of the 6 and 1 out of the 7 of the dyed paper and the cardboard bonus ideas that you can use to use up your scraps and your offcuts. So this is Terry saying goodbye. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next video, and that'll be just a second for you and a day for me. Bye-bye.